I don't look like a dwarf.
I think we're on.
Are we on?
Yeah.
Okay, we're just having fun banter here. We're waiting. This is Maddox and Josh Gembala. We're going to be going live on Facebook with our Q2 security update. In a matter of moments, we're going to give people a chance to join us before we start. A couple of seconds more before we get rolling. And we do this, if you joined us last quarter, this is a quarterly Facebook Live event that we do where I talk to Josh about the latest trends and news in cybersecurity, but not just what happened, but why it matters. If you're a business owner or a business leader in the community, why it matters to you and what it means potentially for your business. That's what we try to get at in this segment. So once again, I'm Mike Maddox. I'm the president of ASK. Thank you for joining us on Facebook Live. Josh Gembala is with me. He's the head of our Enhanced Cybersecurity Services team. You can say hello, Josh.
How you doing?
Say hello to the millions and millions of people watching us on Facebook.
That's right. It's a very popular.
Or at least 7 or 8 people watching us on Facebook. But it'll go viral after we're done. Which is what I'm counting on. So before we get started, as I mentioned, Josh is the manager of our Enhanced Cybersecurity team here at ASK. That's a team that we started in 2015. And I want to get into that a little bit and talk about the state of the industry in managed security, because this past week and a half, as we sit here in June of 2018, there were a lot of announcements that came out in enhanced security. Companies like Datto, ConnectWise, Continuum. If you're a business owner out there, you may or may not be familiar with those names, but they're big back-end providers to IT companies, managed IT companies in particular. All of them made big announcements around cybersecurity and providing enhanced cybersecurity solutions to their partners, to their IT firm company partners. And what's interesting to me about each of those announcements is they're all talking about the same thing, which is the absolute need to provide proactive, real-time monitoring services of a business's environment. So as a business, if you have an managed IT company or you have an IT staff, you should have in place things like antivirus, malware protection, web protection, email protection, all those types of tools that are very reactive. Something gets in, they're geared to try to identify it and stop it. But where they are not sufficient is in finding things that are what they call zero-day, brand new viruses or brand new malware that's never been seen before in the wild, or stopping things before they do dramatic damage. They may find it, but it may be after a lot of damage is done. At ASK, we've had live security monitoring in place for a number of years now that is geared to, we use those tools, but live security monitoring is geared to monitor the entire environment 24 hours a day and look for abnormalities, things out of the ordinary, things that are not typical to your business environment, and take action immediately. So for ransomware, which is an example and it's a big threat to all businesses, we can identify that and stop it within 5 minutes or less through real-time monitoring. That's what ASK Live Security Monitoring does. So it's interesting to me that the industry is all talking about this, and they also had another common theme, which is they're all saying, look, we believe that if you're a business of any size, more than 3 people, I think one gentleman said, or more than 5 people, and you don't adopt live security type monitoring solutions, you're basically signing your own death warrant. In today's day and age, with the threat of cyber crime out there and the rise of cyber crime, this is an absolutely needed tool. You disagree with anything I just said, Josh?
No, I agree. I think that this is, what we're seeing now is pretty much the normal progression. You have what was previously just a large enterprise solution, and it's filtering its way down to small and medium businesses.
And that's what I'm most proud of what your team has developed for ASK and for our clients, is we do real-time live security monitoring at a price point that SMB can afford. The types of solutions that have been out there traditionally have only been affordable by very, very large companies. I'm talking Fortune 50 and above. The solution that we offer through ASK LSM or Live Security Monitoring, affordable for virtually any business.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on the fact that if it comes to price, our solution always wins.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you almost can't afford. You can't afford not to implement, because the cost of not doing live protection is your business, which is not acceptable. So that's interesting. That's in the news recently. I wanted to mention that. Also, if you have a managed IT provider, ask them, it's important that you ask them certain questions, because every IT company in the industry calls themselves a cybersecurity expert today, because that's where they see money and they see potential. There's a difference between putting it on your website and saying you're an expert in cybersecurity and having an ESS team or a security team that only does security, does things like user education, assessments, security assessments, intrusion detection, live security monitoring, remediation, all those things. And that's a very special skill set, and it takes unique individuals that are hard to find and expensive. And so ask your IT provider, if they call themselves a cybersecurity provider, those kinds of questions. Do you have those capabilities? And if you have questions about that, please feel free to email us or call us here at ASK, and we'd be glad to help with that. So Josh, let's get into some things that have happened recently over the last quarter.
Okay.
So Under Armour, MyFitnessPal, the app that they have.
Yep, it was a company that they acquired, and what ended up happening is they ended up having a breach of the data that they were storing for the MyFitnessPal. Now, luckily, they had taken some steps in order to go ahead and isolate their login data from their actual app data. If they hadn't, that would have been pretty devastating. But what looked like some good effort on their part to secure the data kind of started to get watered down as more details came out. So originally we thought there wasn't any chance that they would have anything other than hashed passwords. So there's just like the password that you put on your different account, but kind of secured using.
So it's a password that's not readable in plain text by somebody if they were to get it.
Right. In this case, they used what was called bcrypt in order to do that. But as we learned more, we found out that they were still storing quite a few passwords in the old MD5 hash.
Plain text.
Not plain text, but definitely not as good as bcrypt.
So in a format that would be easier for a bad guy to unencrypt and get the plain text.
Significantly easier.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's we found out they were doing that. Mm-hmm. What got breached exactly? What kind of data was released? Was it user ID and password information?
Username, emails, password hashes, but as of right now, there is no known fitness app data.
Okay, so why does that matter? So why is that a big deal then?
It matters because unlike the Equifax breach, where they were storing everything in one place, they actually did take the extra efforts to separate that data out. Things like location data, which is something that's commonly tracked by fitness trackers, can be used for devastating purposes, especially if you can identify the individual that's wearing that device.
Yeah, you know their username, you know their email, you know their password, you know their location.
Yeah, and you probably also know what they do for their profession. So if you're a government employee, having access to government employees' location data based on time and day.
Even beyond that, just to interrupt you, if they were able to grab the username and password, people are known to use the same
over and over
again. Mm-hmm. So that's dangerous too, right?
Yeah. Reusing passwords is definitely something you want to avoid. If you do reuse them, then the attackers are likely to be able to use them for what we call secondary breaches.
Get into another application.
Or worse, your email, where you can reset all the passwords.
If they can get into your email, they can reset every password you have.
Right.
So that's a big deal. And that happened, what time frame was that, about February time?
Yeah, this was right at the end of last quarter, and more of the information came out at the beginning of this quarter.
If you have MyFitnessPal, like I do, on my phone, what should you do?
Yeah, reset your password just for good measure. If you were reusing that password somewhere else, make sure you reset it there.
Yep.
You should basically consider that password unusable at this point.
And that, and that's just as a side note, you should always have separate passwords for every app. We heavily recommend you have a password manager of some sort to keep track of them, not a piece of paper or sticky notes or anything like that. LastPass, Keeper, there's a number of really. What is it?
1Password.
1Password. Many of these are free, and they're real easy to use. So I would recommend you look into that. We had another incident you were going to mention, and this was around data brokers.
Yeah, this one was interesting to us because of the data that was actually lost. So it was a company called Local Blocks, and they are a personal and business intelligence service. So what they're doing is they're going out and they're scraping the internet for information, and also probably buying information from other data brokers, putting that together, and then selling it to third parties.
Third parties that typically would want to use that information for maybe marketing purposes, right?
Well, yeah, marketing purposes is primarily what they're using it for.
Okay. So there are these companies that exist that gather information over the internet about individuals and demographics, and they package it up and they sell it to people that want to market to, say, the 30 to 45-year-old target market of males interested in cycling, right? So they can provide a lot of detail on those kind of people.
Right, targeted advertising and other things. The problem is with these companies is that there has been almost no accountability for their actions, and since you and I are not actually their customers, we're their product.
Right.
There doesn't seem to be any reason, even if there's public outcry, for them to make any changes. Equifax was a good example. We're not Equifax customers, we're Equifax product.
Right.
They're selling us to other companies. And since Equifax got off scot-free, I mean, 151 gig of data, 48 million records, and there's probably not going to be any penalties.
Right. And in this case with local blocks, the data broker, 151 gig of data, 48 million records were left unsecured on an Amazon Web Services site, including names, addresses, internet usage, and statistics. So
yeah, statistics like Twitter usage and LinkedIn posts and things
unsecured
like that.
Meaning anybody could access that.
I believe that the data was available from February to May.
Okay, so during that time period, wide open. So, and why does that matter to a business? I mean, if you're a business owner, you hear that. What actions do you take if you're running a business to, what does it matter? Why does this matter to you?
Well, I mean, if you're involved in data, actually doing data broker services, I would think that it would be important that you take some responsibility for the data you have. If you're just the average user, I guess this is just another good example.
How about the fact that as a business owner, you have data on your clients, and you have an obligation to, the Equifax example notwithstanding, the premise is going to be that you are responsible, either legally or financially, to protect that data. And you don't want to be the company that has to announce this breach.
I would even go as far as to say ethically, perhaps.
Ethically, yeah. And you don't want to be the company that has to tell all your customers that you let their data go and you let it be released into the wild.
No, and to bring in a slightly more complicated topic, from GDPR, the Global Data Protection Rule that the EU passed, I think it was really, its goal was to prevent things like this from happening. It seems to have gotten a bit away from itself, in my opinion. But
the original premise was to hold companies accountable.
Right, when they did things like scrape a bunch of data and then accidentally let it loose.
Right. Well, thanks for that, Josh.
Yeah.
2 very good updates. We appreciate that. And if you have questions for Josh, you can reach us at, you can send us an email. It'll go right to Josh and his team of security experts if you send it to ess@justask.net. Of course, you can reach us anytime at ASK at 877-ASK for ASK, 877-ASK, the number 4, ASK. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll be back next quarter with another security update.